the new lawsuit coming with Jay, the part with Jay. I go, oh shoot, like
that's right. To us,
that had to be there.
We getting tighter. You know what I'm saying? And united we stand. And ain't no.
When the next strike struck like a punch to the belly, the courtroom was still reverberating with shock at the previous verdict. Not just Diddy, but the music business as a whole. Jay-Z was formally named.
You want to know why Jay-Z and Beyonce's name keep popping up around the whole Diddy thing? Well, that's why I'm here. Now, first thing you gotta know is when somebody like Diddy gets taken down, things always start out as a rumor. Diddy has had rumors floating around for like decades. Well, Jay-Z had a problem. He right there in the corner, by the way. Jay-Z has had a few rumors himself, but more like speculation. People see Jay-Z in a picture of R. Kelly, they're like, I guess they both make music. Then Jay-Z with Harvey Weinstein. People are like, I guess they both do business. Then, of course, Jay-Z with Diddy. Now, hold on. Here's the thing. Jay-Z and Diddy go way back. Like back to the days when they were both coming up. So you could say they might just have a lot of respect for each other. But on the other hand, people are like, well, if you've known each other that long, Jay-Z, you must have known what Diddy was on. But Jay-Z has always had a history of keeping quiet, which brings us to Aaliyah. Now, I'm sure y'all remember R. Kelly dated Aaliyah when she literally needed her parents' permission slip to get married. Now, if I remember correctly, her parents got the permission slip and said, marry who? And that's how this whole thing got exposed. Now, a lot of people in the industry actually knew about this relationship because they would work with R. Kelly. They would be in the studio with R. Kelly. Now, according to Dame Dash, who listened closely, was Jay-Z's first business partner and also dated Aaliyah when she was 21. He said this is how it went. He said he didn't want anything to do with R. Kelly because everyone knew what type of timing R. Kelly was on. He looks over at Jay-Z, and Jay-Z's out here creating collab albums with R. Kelly. But then he saw why. For starters, everyone had a crush on Aaliyah. People were waiting down the clock until she turned 18. But Jay-Z decided to get a head start. Now, there was absolutely no proof that Jay-Z went after Aaliyah, but people were like, let me see another picture. But apparently Jay-Z wasn't successful, and Dame Dash started dating her when she was 21. Now, what does this all have to do with Diddy? It's the secrets. It's the, like what happened to Diddy, making people wonder. Nas came out, well, he technically didn't come out and say this, but while he was having his legendary beef with Jay-Z, he's doing a radio interview, and he's saying, it's weird that Jay-Z be working with people that need a permission slip to marry somebody, R. Kelly. But again, rumors, kind of like what was happening to Diddy. But then, this lawyer comes out and says, boy, do I got some news for y'all. And here's where it starts to get wicked. Now, he's going after Diddy. Specifically, listen closely, anyone that Diddy might have done something to, or anyone who's watched Diddy do some of these things and stayed silent about it. Now, first of all, the lawyer's taking calls from anyone. So theoretically, anyone could just call trying to get some money saying, Diddy did this to me, Diddy should pay me. But in the lawyer's defense, I'm sure he's looking for people with proof. Honestly, I don't know him. He could be trash. Anyway, what he said next is what got people interested. He said, and I got some names. He said some wild names. Some names that will blow your mind. He's selling this. He said, yo, y'all finna wow.
He is now entangled in the complex web of Diddy's collapsing empire in a startling new case. And Diddy went utterly crazy when his name was called out in court. His calmness collapsed in front of the court, the cameras, and the entire world as he paced and muttered under his breath. Nobody anticipated it. Not even the insiders with the most connections. It thundered again, darker, louder, and with an unexpected name, just when many believed the storm had finally passed. No longer was the courtroom merely observing Diddy. They were observing the implications and potential consequences of this. Did he too? The fear was visible in his eyes. Jay-Z had long been regarded as an untouchable mogul, a chess master, and the best player in the game. However, the design of riches, power, and quiet was now being broken in real time as the documents were received.
None of this nonsense and nothing over the phone. I'm gonna need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes.
The what?
All the boxes.
He's talking in code, he's dumb.
All the boxes.
Okay.
Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about.
Yeah.
Did Jay reach out yet?
Nah, Pop. He ghosting.
Yeah, watch.
What this motherfucker doing? These things sweet
You heard him?
because I'm in here.
Jay-Z reach
You
out.
about to get out on bail.
No, fuck that.
You answer the phone?
He ain't answering the motherfucking phone.
The new lawsuit coming with Jay, the part with Jay. I go, oh shoot, like
That's right. To us,
that had to be there.
we getting tighter. You know what I'm saying? And united we stand. And ain't nothing else.
Black excellence, they're sitting there like, yeah. It's the billionaire brought you
I
like,
hate you, man.
unaware of anything going.
Sean Diddy Combs. This is out in New York. This is out in New York federal court, to be more specific. And she is claiming that when she was just 13 years old, she was raped by both of these musicians at a Video Music Awards after party back in 2000. And now Jay-Z, who is adamantly denying the allegations, is not only trying to get the whole case dismissed and thrown out, but he is also asking the court to impose sanctions upon Jane Doe's Texas attorney, Tony Busby. Now, this may sound very familiar, by the way, because this has been an ongoing legal war between Busby and Jay-Z and his legal team. Accusations that Busby engaged in extortion, that his firm pressured a client to lie, that Jay-Z's camp has been engaging in intimidation and harassment. Jay-Z called Tony Busby a deplorable human being. He even filed a lawsuit against Tony Busby. And by the way, Jay-Z and his legal team, their position was that Busby had extorted the rapper, that Busby allegedly threatened Jay-Z during negotiations that he would go public with these claims. Jay-Z says these are false claims, but public with these claims unless Jay-Z agreed to pay what they claim is a, quote, exorbitant sum in private mediation within a 2-week period. Jay-Z says that when he refused, that is when he was named by Tony Busby in the lawsuit. Remember, this lawsuit first came out. It was only identified as unnamed celebrity A, and then in an amended complaint, Jay-Z was identified as celebrity A. So you're seeing this really bad blood between the different players here. I mean, it got so bad that the judge in this case, Judge Annalisa Torres, actually scolded Jay-Z's lawyer, Alex Spiro, writing in a recent order, Carter's lawyer's relentless filing of combative motions containing inflammatory language and ad hominem attacks is inappropriate, a waste of judicial resources, and a tactic unlikely to benefit his client. The court will not fast-track the judicial process merely because counsel demands it. Now, despite not allowing Jay-Z to immediately file for sanctions, Judge Torres did permit Jay-Z to file the motion that we're about to talk about. And this is big. So this is Jay-Z's memorandum of law in support of his motion for sanctions.
And Diddy became aware that he was being pulled further, even though he had hoped that the attention would eventually turn away from him. It's more than merely association in the latest instance. It concerns cooperation, witnesses, financial records, and purported joint ventures that provided funding for events and persons that are currently the subject of intense federal investigation. According to the case, Jay-Z might not have simply known what was going on. He might have been present. When one witness asserted that some of the more unsettling freak-off evenings weren't limited to Diddy circles, that there were crossing moments, and that other names, big names, were participating, the courtroom reportedly erupted. You could hear a pin drop when a lawyer said Jay-Z's name aloud. Everyone looked at Diddy. He remained silent. He was unable to. He merely shook his head, looked at the ground, and mumbled something that reporters were unable to understand. It didn't matter, though. The damage was already done. Once more, the plot had changed. This was no longer only a Diddy situation. It was a reckoning for the industry. People weren't prepared for it either. The legal team for Jay-Z reacted right away.
So the filing begins right on page 1. While the allegations stated in the complaint in this case are gravely serious and injurious to Mr. Carter's hard-won reputation, many of them, on their face, strain the outer bounds of credulity, and none of them appear to have been subjected to even the most rudimentary diligence by the filing attorney who initially signed his name to them and has since declined to withdraw them. Because the federal rules and professional ethics require more of a filing attorney, Mr. Carter now respectfully seeks appropriate sanctions. And by the way, when we're talking about sanctions under Rule 11 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, we're talking about a way to punish attorneys for really bad conduct. Usually it's a monetary punishment. It's rare. You don't see this all the time. You have to be talking about really egregious bad behavior. Rule 11, it's about making false representations to the court, filing a lawsuit for an improper purpose, like merely to harass someone, that you're asserting claims or defenses that are not backed up by the facts, the law, the evidence. The bottom line here is that Rule 11 requires attorneys to conduct reasonable inquiries into the facts and into the law before they file. Makes sense, right? Well, Alex Spiro, Jay-Z's attorney, claims that Tony Busby violated Rule 11 by, quote, either knowingly making false allegations about Mr. Carter in the amended complaint, failing to conduct an adequate investigation into the complaint's factual allegations, or at a minimum, failing to withdraw the complaint once it became clear that numerous allegations in the complaint are false and the other allegations are therefore at least highly suspect. So what do they mean by these allegations are false? Well, here is where it gets a little tricky for Jane Doe, because NBC News actually interviewed her and they looked into this case. They looked into her claims. And here's what the filing says. NBC News journalists determined that a number of allegations were either false or highly doubtful. For example, paragraph 44 of the complaint claims that the party, again, this is the party where she claims she was assaulted, the party occurred at a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway that was approximately 20 minutes from the VMAs by car. But photographs show that after the VMAs, Mr. Carter attended a party at Lotus, a nightclub in New York. And by the way, there is a photo included here, provided by Alex Spiro, of Jay-Z at what appears to be a party with a lot of people. Later on in the memorandum, he writes, other photographs from that evening also show Mr. Combs with his then girlfriend, the musician and actress Jennifer Lopez, at two different establishments, Lotus and Twirl, neither of which was a large residence with a U-shaped driveway. And there is another photo that is included. This time it's of the pair, Jennifer Lopez, Sean Combs, and there is a caption at the bottom that says that they are at a MTV Video Music Awards after party at Twirl on September 7th, 2000. But that is not the only alleged inconsistency. You see, Jane Doe has claimed in her complaint that she was able to escape this situation and run away to a nearby gas station, call her father to pick her up. Well, the filing says
comments, PR blitzes, and denials. They are claiming it is unfounded and an effort to disparage a cultural figure. However, this time was more than just whispers on social media. So even that didn't stop the avalanche. The documents were from the federal government. It was evidence. Additionally, the questions were piling up quickly. How far down did it go? To what extent was Jay-Z aware? What specifically linked him to Diddy's most sinister secrets? Diddy could see it clearly. He believed that bringing another titan into the spotlight would relieve some of the strain on him. But it didn't work out that way. It did not move the judge. Prosecutors didn't let up. If anything, Diddy appeared to be unraveling from the inside out once again, and the courtroom grew colder, sharper, and hungrier. Outside the courthouse, reporters poured in. The headlines shouted. After Diddy's trial, Jay-Z was mentioned in a startling case. The blogs went haywire. Twitter took a nosedive. Conspiracy threads filled TikTok. Everyone wanted to know if the most potent duo in hip-hop was going to fail. Lawyers rushed backstage. Jay-Z's group attempted to break the tie.
To be a significant new detail, because prosecutors, again, in my mind, they must have learned about this after filing the original indictment, and that they learned either through witness testimony, maybe through the staff member, maybe through digital or physical or transactional documents. Remember, there was massive discovery in this case. Prosecutors indicated they have gone through a lot of material. So is this documented somewhere? Can they prove that it was $100,000? Maybe if it was a secret payment, it'd be hard to, have some sort of documentation about it. But then again, if there are bank records, maybe. But it could also just definitely be that alleged hotel staff member who's going to testify about this at an upcoming trial. Remember why this event is so important. It's not just that Sean Combs allegedly beat Cassandra Ventura. It's that prosecutors say she was escaping a freak-off. There was a male commercial sex worker in that room that she was running away from. Okay, so moving on. The next one is actually a very significant difference from the original complaint. So when talking about the criminal enterprise that Sean Combs allegedly led, and that's, by the way, what we mean by the racketeering conspiracy charge. The original complaint read, from at least in or about 2008 through on or about the date of the filing of this indictment, Sean Combs and others known and unknown were members and associates of a criminal organization. But in this new indictment, it now reads, from at least in or about 2004 through in or about 2024. So first, you're going back to 2004 now. That has opened 4 more years of potential alleged criminal activity and evidence. And I gotta believe that means you have new alleged victims who claim that they were abused since then. Now, how do I know that there might be more victims here, victims that go back to 2004? The new indictment says so. A few pages later, it reads, Combs then used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims, including, but not limited to, 3 female victims, victim 1, victim 2, and victim 3, to engage in commercial sex acts. Also, I have to call this out too, the original indictment talked about engaging in freak-offs. This has now broadened to commercial sex acts. So we're talking about conduct that may not rise to the level, again, of these elaborate and highly orchestrated sexual performances like freak.
Claiming that there isn't any reliable proof. However, the court was unconcerned about appearances. Connections were important to them. And everything gets more complicated the further investigators go. It was best summed up by one court observer. It is palpable in the atmosphere. One man is no longer the focus of this. This has to do with legacy. History is at issue here. Who has been safeguarding whom and for how long is at issue here. And it had an instant effect on Diddy. His attitude shifted. In court, his tone changed. He began pacing more, massaging his brow, and yelling at his lawyers. Because no one is safe if Jay-Z fails. Even if the prospect of him appearing in court is realized. No one, not even him. Insiders are suddenly disclosing information that they have been keeping for years. There were rumors of NDA-covered weekends, industry parties, and high-security residences with guest lists more exclusive than any presidential gala. Powerful names are also being mentioned repeatedly. At the heart of it all is Diddy, who is still under arrest, has not been released on bail, and is still losing his mind, although Jay-Z has not yet shown up in court. Subpoenas are on the way, and since this is no longer merely a courtroom drama, you never know what else might come out when that...
Letting this motion go is part of that understanding. That would be my third possible reason.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned that it's speculation, but I think by you kind of explaining that, I feel like that might also be very plausible. I want to go back to what you said during kind of your second explanation, where, I'm sure Jay-Z, from his side, he probably wants this lawsuit or this complaint to be dismissed, or not even amended in the first place, made in the first place. Obviously, nothing goes away in the blink of an eye, excuse me. But in your opinion, watching all of this legal back and forth that's been unfolding these past few months, do you think there is enough to dismiss, or do you think at a point this will even get litigated?
I think it's going to get litigated. If I had to guess, I haven't really studied the complaint against the motion to dismiss, so I don't have a advanced opinion about it, but my reaction to it is that the complaint accuses him of some very bad stuff, and that ought to be enough to move the case forward. That's my guess. Now, remember, at the outset of these litigations, we go through kind of a honing phase where the dispute is sort of narrowed down to certain parties and certain claims. And sometimes a motion to dismiss doesn't get rid of the case entirely, but it gets rid of some of the claims, or it gets rid of some of the parties. I see today, by way of example, there's a brand new filing dismissing defendant Bad Boy Records LLC. There were separate claims against that company, and I don't know where all these companies fit in the pantheon of Bad Boy Records, but that company has been dismissed voluntarily from the action. And you'll see that kind of thing at the beginning of civil litigation. The parties and the claims have to be sorted out, and then the case can proceed with discovery.
And we do want to mention to our viewers there that even though Bad Boy Records was dismissed off that complaint, Sean Carter and Sean Combs are both still named there. I also want to talk to you, Rich, about...
They are fighting for their lives, and no amount of notoriety, wealth, or power can protect them. Diddy now lost in court. Not only was he afraid, but he also recognized that the system wasn't complete when Jay-Z's name fell into the flames. The match was far from over, and the hush they believed would keep them safe. The whole thing is exploding, and the remainder of the courtroom. They pondered how many more identities would be revealed as they sat there looking at Diddy's shaking palms. Who else is only a subpoena away from collapsing if Jay-Z is involved. And the message was unmistakable in that courtroom that day. Silence is a thing of the past. This is only the start. Deep character unraveling, continuous press hysteria, increasing public outrage, covert alliances, fresh witness leaks, unsealed documents, and a growing psychological tension between Diddy and Jay-Z with every court appearance, all of which contributed to the work's dramatic tone and word count of 40,000.